With the first pick, the number one pick.
What an incredible time of year. It is MLB Draft time. We're getting close to about a month away. And certainly these are the times that we take these brains that you see here and introduce the best players that are heading into professional baseball and some that will see their lives change forever. Hi there, folks. My name is Daron Sutton. It's mock draft time number 1 on Perfect Game TV. We hope to do a couple of these throughout the next month as we head into the draft, which is just ahead of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game. Brian Sakowski, National Scouting Supervisor, will join us. Vinnie Cervino, National Scouting Supervisor, as well, handling all things college-related for Perfect Game, and Jered Goodwin, National Scouting Director for PG. Jered, this is a fun one this year because, selfishly for me, I've always thought that, this class of 21, with all that they went through in 2020, will always have a more special place in my mind. And I'm guessing for you three, it's exactly the same. With what happened in 20, boy, this 21 draft feels some kind of special.
Yeah, there's no question. And it's been great to kind of see this group develop. Big thing is we got to see them throughout the whole summer circuit. There were no real shutdowns. Everybody's playing across the country. So I think going into this draft, everybody just feels a little better about the evaluation process. And some of these kids have really taken that carrot and pushed themselves into the conversation that we're going to talk about today.
Vinny, what I love about this year's draft is, and I think you guys are going to throw some of these names right up pretty early, there are some guys that were some buddies coming out of high school. They were good, but now they're great. They took their chance to go to college and made themselves great. Not just like top 10 round great, but first round great. Look, I think you guys are going to talk about a half dozen guys that took the college journey and put themselves into the first round.
Yeah, there's a number of guys when you look at the collegiate class, especially when you look at the top of the collegiate class, guys like Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter, guys that were names coming out of high school, but then went to college, went to school, performed, took that next step to kind of be that elite prospect and jump into that top 5, top 10 round category.
Yeah, and Brian, in the Midwest, and your heart beats in the Midwest, though you travel the country all year round and see the best players in the country. Here we go again, cold weather states, Midwestern states, high school, college. We're seeing the heart of America again contribute to pro baseball.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Sut. And it's something you and I have talked about on many shows before. We need to stop sleeping on the cold weather states, man. We can play baseball up here. So I'm thinking this is another opportunity. This draft will be another opportunity for those cold weather guys to show off and be up there with the southern guys right where they belong.
You ready, Brian?
I'm ready to go, man.
I'm told you're first. Representing the Pittsburgh Pirates, Brian Sakowski, you're up.
Yeah, this one ended up being pretty easy, even though I agonized over it for a while. The college arms, probably at the beginning of the year, is who you'd think, but now it's prep bats for me, and I'm going to take the guy I think can be an offensive impact from the left side of the plate and play on the left side of the infield, and I'll take Marcelo Meyer from Southern California.
So for you, and I'll go quickly, and God, by the way, guys, I know a lot of you have personal anecdotes. That's what makes PG maybe different than any other show you're going to see. You guys know these guys pretty well. Heck, I know a lot of them pretty well, but if you want to share, but just from the scout's eye, what makes him the number 1 overall pick?
For me, it's the bat. It's the projection on the bat. We can talk about whether he's going to play shortstop or third base long term, and it's a fair conversation to have. But I'm buying the upside of the bat. I think this is the potential for what we call a 12 bat on the scouting side, with 6 hit and 6 power on the 20/80 scale. A guy who can impact the game from an average perspective, from an on-base perspective, and from a power perspective. And I think that even if he has to play third base, who cares? That's a really good player.
Eastlake High School, San Diego area. He's a PG All-American, USC commit, San Diego show, his travel team. I'm very proud of his Latin American and Mexican family heritage. I've gotten to know that about him. Jered, you represent the Rangers. Number 2 belongs to you.
Yeah, this I think Zach kind of hit it on the nose. You can go a number of ways here. Obviously, those college pitchers early in the season would have been, kind of no doubter here. But I'm going prep bat as well, and we're going to stay at the shortstop position with Jordan Lawler. I think you could argue, and as Sack said, agonize over who's going 1-1, and he's certainly in the conversation. Maybe the most fluid, maybe the safest bet to stay at shortstop, just with the physical body right now. Probably the most projection left of those top prep bats, especially at the shortstop position. I remember about 4 years ago, he was at the trials, 14U trials, maybe 3 summers ago, and all the kids called him Baby Jeter just because he was so fluid, he was so sure-handed. And when you have these kids calling another, really competition at that point, because everybody's competing against themselves, and then they go and get on a team and they compete with each other. The best compliments you can get is from those players, and all those guys calling this guy Baby Jeter. I still remember how excited I was to follow this kid, and he's rung the bell. Right? He's going to go number 2 for me right now.
Jesuit College Prep. He's a Dallas-Fort Worth area guy. He was a 14U Select Festival player, so you guys have been on him for many years. Perfect Game All-American, 4.12 in the classroom, so he checks those boxes. What I love about him is during a time last summer where things were challenging for all of us, especially as it pertains to peace in our country, he represented the African-American baseball player as well with a lot of pride and confidence. And so cool dude, man. I love Jordan Lawler. All right, Vin, man, you're up next. You are at number 3. Let's see, you're representing those Detroit Tigers. Brian, how are you not representing the Tigers, by the way?
Well, I didn't
Quality
want
control.
Yeah, quality
That's
control.
right.
Yeah.
Credibility factor?
That's right.
All right, go for it, Vin, man.
The prep shortstop seem to be hot, so we're going to stick on that prep shortstop train. We're going to take Brady House from Winder Barrow High School in Georgia. Speaking personally, he is one of my favorite players in the draft. I've seen him since he was 14. There's no better upside shortstop, I think, in the class than Brady House. When you look at the size, the athleticism, and the power potential, you're talking about a guy that could potentially hit 30, 40 home runs at his peak in the big leagues. He's a really, really gifted athlete, and a really underrated one for his size as well. He is a big kid, but I think people kind of underrate the athleticism, the twitch, kind of the movement skill that he has. And when you're talking about a guy that's getting comps to guys like Chris Bryant and Nolan Arenado, I mean, it's a pretty special bat.
Yeah, and I got to say,
This is the dude, yeah.
I gotta say, this is Vinci. We see eye to eye on House, and it was great to see last summer because he had an uneven summer. And for a scout, you don't wish that on a kid, that they go through some struggles and they try to figure themselves out. But it helps you from a scouting perspective to see them come back from that. And I got a chance to talk to this kid multiple times at the end of summer and talk through the changes that he was making, some of the struggles that he had. Obviously, this is coming off a really, really weird year where he had to take a ton of time off and then dive back in of seeing all the best arms in the country. So there's going to be some growing pains. But what he did with his body, with his approach, shortening up his swing from the end of summer, right around the perfect game, All-American game, to what he did in the fall, I think all of us were so excited. And again, it kind of speaks volumes to the kid when you see a guy that has a target on his back. He was the number 1 player in the country. That's what we were looking at. He was the best position prospect. And to see him kind of go up and down and then pull it all together, come back and have an absolutely monster spring with great games against our number 1 pitching prospect in the 22 class, Dylan Lesko. It's so easy to scout a kid and kind of get that makeup when you see him overcome what he did. And it was really special. I got to know the kid. He's a tough kid. Vin knocked this one out of the park, no pun intended.
Yeah, Winder Barrow High School, his coach, Brian Smith, he's the biggest man on the face of the earth, by the way, for playing that position. He's ridiculously huge. He's been bigger, stronger, faster, maybe not faster, but certainly looks bigger and stronger than most of the dudes around for the last couple of years. All right, so we've had shortstops go 1, 2, 3. The Boston Red Sox. Brian, you are up. Represent. Boston's not going to pick this high again for a while, so make it good. But we've got 3 shortstops going 1, 2, and 3. What do you got?
I'm going to go off script a little bit here.
Good.
I'm going to continue I'm going to continue the prep shortstop run. Khalil Watson is my pick for the Red Sox here at 4.
Oh.
It's just, Jered and Vinnie, and along with myself and some other members of our scouting staff, we had a conversation not all that long ago where we were talking about, like, hey, if we'd had a little bit more track record with Watson, if he was a guy who we'd known about as a sophomore and as a junior, rather than like kind of bursting onto the scene last summer, would we be talking about this guy as the best player in the class, at least on the prep side? And it's hard to make the argument of no. So even with a little bit limited of a track record as compared to the other guys like a House or a Lawler who we've seen since they were 13, it seems like I'm in love with the twitch. I'm in love with the swing. He's got power. He's going to play shortstop. Like he plays angry, and I love that too. I'm going off the board a little bit here. I'll take Khalil Watson at 4.
I love
Watson
that
is
pick.
the guy. Watson is a guy too that like you said wasn't on the national radar. Didn't come to the national showcase. We got a tip off about his talent. Hey, maybe you want to watch this kid. Jeremy Brown, our colleague, goes and sees him at the Elite in Hoover. I see him in Fort Myers. Other guys see him in various areas, and we kind of come to the conclusion as a staff, like, guys, this guy's a dude. Mm-hmm. He ends up going to the All-American game, and now he's going to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I know you guys. I know you guys have influence because the word travels fast amongst your circles. Because we were going to presses, to use an old guy term, on the All-American Classic show. It was edited. It was done. This team that helps to work on this, it was done, and I got a call from the big boss, and he said, "By the way, we'll try and get you some video, but can you add a name?" And I kind of was exhaling, not too happy. I guess, who is it? And that name was Khalil Watson. Yeah. He was 12th hour. He was, you guys got to, the leadership, and you guys are the scouting leadership, and said, this guy's got to be on. That's how late it was, because we were done with the show. The roster was done. And, you guys nailed this one. I mean, Jered, you guys nailed this one.
Yes, we were actually sitting at a little Italian place during a rain delay that we unfortunately frequented often during the WWBA, and we were kind of sitting there, guys, we can't miss an at-bat. We really got to get this one right. We've seen now, I mean, it was throughout our entire scouting class, scouting department, it was, guys, we've got to make sure. We're just seeing this kid, and we were sitting there, and I said, guys, should we make this call? This is something, not that it's going to happen, but this guy has to be an All-American. And he was named an All-American, and he didn't stop. He hit all the way through Jupiter. He actually had a rough couple weeks for his standards and, first part of the high school season. And everybody sitting here on this panel didn't panic. He's going to hit. And what has he done? He's absolutely hit. So a little off the board, especially 4 straight prep shortstops with my draft guys here. That's a record, correct?
Yeah, that's incredible. Hey, by the way, NC State commit, just a quick, those of you who don't know it, Wake Forest High School, Dirtbags, his travel team, played super aggressive. I can remember, aggressive play at home, played in the Jupiter meets Fort Myers event, the World Wood Bat Association World Championship, kind of nicked up football players' mentality. Oh, man, I love this pick. Jered, you were talking, keep talking, rep the Orioles. You are up now at 5. Yep, we've got shortstop. You're representing the Orioles at 5.
Yeah, this is a fun pick for me, just personally, because I've got if you see my wall behind me, I've got a middle-of-the-order bat right there that's playing for them. And actually the other side of my wall, I've got DJ Stewart's jersey sitting there. So I'm going to get these boys some help right here. We've got Rutschman coming up the line here. So I much as I like Henry Davis, he's not in play for me. It comes down to these arms in Nashville, I guess, right? And I might go off the board a little bit here. I'm going to go with Kumar Rocker. I'm going to go with the dirt.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that banger that he's got. And they need help, and they need help soon. So I'm going to go with a guy that I think has a really, really high floor. I think the ceiling goes all the way up into maybe that 2 range. If the fastball quality gets a little better, maybe even more. But he's so safe to get up for me, get up quick, and have a long career and a building block for what they're trying to do on the offensive side. So I'm going to go Kumar Rocker.
91 innings pitched, 135 strikeouts this year, PG All-American, a very, very famous man in the prep and prospect baseball world. What's fun about this pick for me is that, you guys knew about him a couple of years ago when he was a high schooler, and his dad Tracy had a successful NFL career, still as a college and still at Auburn, still is a really good coach, and mom is a strong leader. It's a great family. You guys knew about it a long time ago. The world knows about this dude now. I mean, a no-hitter in a super regional. Gosh, this seems like a guy, Vinny, that could probably come pretty quickly, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be silly, but, maybe a couple of years, he's in the big leagues.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who has the best breaking ball in the draft pretty easily and has another plus breaking ball to go along with that, in combination with probably having the longest track record of any college arm available this year. And this is a weird year because college arms don't have the track record that we're accustomed to in terms of Cape experience, USA experience, summer experiences. But besides that, Kumar Rocker's freshman year and his experience in Omaha, that sort of stuff, like that, is kind of on a level that nobody else really has this year. So yeah, Kumar can absolutely move very quickly.
All right, represent Arizona, Vinny. You are up now. You are at 6. Arizona Diamondbacks lean on Vinnie Cervino. Who do you select?
We were going to pick a player that I saw earlier this year and take Henry Davis out of Louisville. He's absolutely in play higher than this, possibly the number 1 overall pick. He's the top college position player in this year's draft. It's an unorthodox swing, but it's a very efficient swing. He hits the ball really hard. He has good power. He has a really, really strong arm, double plus arm behind the plate. Some guys have called into question the long-term catching future at the position for him, but even worst case scenario, if he's playing right field at third base, the bat's going to play. And he's a really safe option, but he's one that should also move quickly and is probably going to be a middle of the order bat sooner rather than later.
Vin, what do you think if he doesn't catch, like where's the tool set and athleticism, et cetera, et cetera? Like we know he's got a cannon for an arm. Like where does it profile best, do you think?
I think it profiles best in right, personally. It is one of those things that I think the catching issues are things that can be worked on. I don't think they're deal breakers by any means. I know he's an extremely hardworking kid. I know Jered knows him personally, but the skill set's exciting. And even in the case where you maybe want to move him off catcher to protect the bat even a little bit, I think right field's a fairly good option given the fact that he's athletic and the arm strength's obviously in play there.
And I'll touch on that too. As Vinny mentioned, I got to spend a little time with this guy during a winter in the cage. And the interesting part is when he came to the junior national and came to the national, didn't necessarily question what he did behind the plate. And it's so easy to just fall in love with that cannon of an arm that he has. It's just so easy. But he was told. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He was told the bat's not going to play. And getting to know him, he's an extremely hard worker, but the IQ is what separates him. So going into minor league baseball, the one thing we know is that people get better defensively. So he's going to be able to kind of split his work a little bit because it's been very one-sided because he wanted to prove people wrong with the stick, and he has. So I actually think long-term this guy ends up being a middle of the bat, type player, and I think he sticks at catcher. Which obviously, if we're picking him this high, we're planning on that too. But the IQ, the confidence, the leadership abilities, everything checks those boxes that he can stay at that position. And obviously, like Vinny said, he's just been dynamite this year offensively, and that's not going to stop even with kind of the unorthodox swing.
He's the guy too, Vinny, that I was referencing. When we came on about guys ranked in the 200s coming out of high school. Guy uses college as his springboard. Doesn't mean you guys didn't get it right. You did. It just means that he took those couple of years and busted his backside and has become a guy that Jered wants to talk to, that Brian obviously knows about. Vinny, you cover with all your great college coverage. Brian, so you're representing the Royals. There was a guy named Leiter that was talked about at 1-1 a lot. I've seen all these shortstops. I'm just saying you got another shot at him here. You're representing the Royals at 7. Go for it.
This is easy. Yeah, give me Jack Leiter. I didn't even have to think about this one. Some components here working in my decision-making process. The Royals have had really good success taking college arms in the last couple of years. Singer and Chris Bubich are pitching in their rotation right now. Daniel Lynch and Jackson Kowar are down on the farm building. I'll take Leiter here. I think that one of the prep shortstops might be in play if he were to fall this far. Job might be in play, not to steal anybody's picks later on. Give me the dude who... there's still a chance he goes 1-1, man. We don't know. Polished, great delivery, elite competitor, obviously has the bloodlines, maybe the best fastball in the country given the metrics on it when he's throwing it in the mid-upper 90s. Good breaking ball. Some things there if you want to nitpick. I probably need something moving away from lefties a little bit more than he does right now, but I'll take Leiter here and not really even think twice about it.
Jersey guy, we know Dad Al, the friend of Perfect Game. Certainly, you guys had him and nailed him as a PG All-American. Vinny, this seems like a dude that did not waste his COVID shutdown. He exploded once he was back on the scene.
Yeah, I mean, when the dust is all settled, you're talking about, because he's technically still a freshman by the collegiate standards, you're talking about one of the best freshman SEC seasons probably of all time. I mean, you got a no-hitter. You got 16 straight no-hit innings to start your SEC career. A 2.10 ERA that leads the country in strikeouts. I mean, he's been fantastic. He's like Zach said. There's some things we can nitpick here and there. I mean, for me, the breaking balls are a little bit behind everything else, but it may be the best fastball in the draft. And he's a guy that's an elite competitor who's proved it on an elite stage in the Southeastern Conference. So, I think Leiter at 7's a no-brainer. And I think we're talking about the separation between this kind of top 6, top 7 guys versus the rest of the draft, too.
All right, so Jered, you're up next. Vinny, I need you to really think this one through. I need you really repping the Angels, man. So Wall Jered picks. Seriously, we need some help here. So think it through, okay? Jered, you are up. You are repping the Rockies. You are up at number 8.
This one's tough because I kind of go back to the recruiting, background that I have, and you a lot of times you have to make a decision over maybe the best player available or playing to your specific ballpark here. And
oh man,
the thing the Rockies have done, they've drafted guys that have hit. There's no question they have some guys that they've developed and they come up to cores in that park and they hit. So I'm going to give them every opportunity to develop somebody that could have, let's call it what it is, maybe at least rivals the best ceiling in the draft from the pitching perspective. And I'm going to give them every opportunity right here to get a guy that maybe has the best spin metrics of anybody and go with Jackson Jobe. And I don't want to do this because the track record, of where we're at. But I'm going to give them every opportunity, and RPD is going to develop this guy into a frontline starter, and he's going to be able to pitch in that park. And the hitters are never a problem when you're talking about the PD there and what they do at the big league level. Jackson Jobe is going to turn the table.
Oh, Jackson Jobe, Ole Miss commit, Oklahoma City guy, Thrive Baseball, one of his travel teams. Talking spin rate, who wants to take that subject that he just threw out there, boys? Who wants to take it? Surprised by this pick?
No, I mean, this is the guy who
envious even.
Yeah, I don't. I'm advanced enough in my career as a scout to where I don't make audible noises behind the plate when I'm scouting someone. And Jackson Jobe made me make noises behind the plate at the All-American game.
Example?
Specifically, at the All-American game specifically, I'm not going to say...
No, but can you make the noise? I want to hear the noise.
Yeah.
What was the noise?
It was kind of like a squeak with some swear. There's a curse in there too. You don't want me to say it on this broadcast, but there was a high-pitched keen... But yeah, it just the dude throws 3,200 RPM sliders, and it's not like those spin sliders where you're that didn't even move much. What are my eyes not seeing? No, this slider moves between dimensions, And, like, he's also added a curveball that's similar on the spin. He's up to 98 with the fastball. You could make the argument that the fastball shape maybe needs correcting or adjusting, especially if he's going to go play somewhere where it's easy to hit home runs. Not that it's easy to hit home runs, but you know what I mean. But either way, good athlete. He's way better than any of us are at golf. Yeah, just lots to like there. Yeah.
And it's interesting he brings up the athletic point. So I got to meet his dad, who obviously was a pro golfer, at the National. And first thing he wanted to talk about is Sack, if you remember. He smoked a line drive hit to left field. And that was the first thing his dad wanted to talk about. And I said, hey, with all due respect, I want to talk about that 3,000 plus spend. Like, let's call this what it is. But I think the whole point is he is a great athlete. And when you're talking about right-handed pitchers, right-handed high school pitchers at this point, you better be sold on the athlete as much as you are with his repertoire. And he could have probably been a D1, left side of the infield or first baseman with a power bat and things like that. But let's not mistake anything. We're taking this monster stuff.
That's awesome. And by the way, with the evolution of the game here in the next month or two at the highest levels, authentic spin is going to matter because there are going to be some guys that are going to have their little duffel bags cleaned out if you're listening to MLB and Theo Epstein. So authentic spin, high school backfield, to use a simple word, spin that comes from the man above and hard work and not from that tacky stuff that helps you hold on to the baseball. My father, may he rest in peace, love him. But authentic spin matters, guys, so I love it. All right, Vinny, I'm really excited, man. This is an important time for you and I. We bond together now. This is a big opportunity for the Angels. He doesn't have to get here right away, but at 9, who are you selecting for the Angels?
Well, at 9, I was going to take Jackson Joe, but then Jered swooped in the last minute, obviously. So I think what I'm going to do instead is go a completely different route and take a guy who should be in Los Angeles in probably 2 years or less, in Boston College's Sal Frelick.
Love him.
He is a fan favorite of the scouting staff. He's a double-plus runner, center field fit. He's a little bit, in terms of a safe side type of prospect, in terms of collegiate performer who will play center and doesn't really have a ton of power to speak of, but he's going to hit for average. He controls the barrel well. He's a top-of-the-order profile, and he's going to play center field and run and steal bags. So he's a fun, exciting player. He's a fellow Italian countryman, and he's a guy that's going to impact the Major League lineup sooner rather than later.
We didn't let
dude.
Sack take the Tigers, and now we're going with countrymen here. Like, unbelievable.
Where's my fellow Polacks? Yeah, where's my fellow Polacks? That's what I'm asking. Anyways, this is a dude that, I mean, we didn't know him in high school, or at least we might have been like aware of him, but he wasn't like on the radar this heavy in high school at all. And then if you rewind to the fall of his freshman year at Boston College, Jeremy texted Vinny and I and was like, "Hey, Boston College has a dude. I'm just letting you know they have a dude. It's this Frelick."
Yeah, try going back further than that to the summer of that year of the Futures League. That's what I found him out.
Yeah, either way. Years ago, before he'd even taken a college at-bat, we're stuffing him way up on freshman draft lists, having never seen him. And then that spring, I went down to Louisville to see Louisville host Boston College, and like one at-bat. And I was like, yeah, first round, we're good. Done. Like, check the box. Not that I'm a super scout. He's just that good. And I think Vin, for taking him in the top 10, I think Vin undersold his power a little bit, honestly. I think this is a dude who's got a chance for 30 doubles and 10, 12 bombs. That's not a punchless bat by any stretch of the imagination.
Love it, Vinny. I'm excited. 521 slug in his career, to your point, Brian. 435 on base. And that wonderful Italian family. He's one of the favorite guests we had on our podcast over the holidays. They love their home. They love their heritage. They love their Italian cooking. Nico and Francesca are the siblings. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get him here to Anaheim. You're moving 27 out of center field if Adele or Marsh doesn't do that. So I got you. A little depth in the outfit. All right, we're going to pause. We got 9. There are a ton of big names still left on the board. Some surprises at the top. That means there's some huge names. Our mock draft picks 10 through 18 coming up very, very soon, just around the corner. I'm glad you found us on Perfect Game TV.